Okay, there's a couple more viruses we want to consider, both of which are associated with extensive skin rashes. The first of these is rubella, also sometimes known as German measles. In children, this is typically manifested as a distinctive but kind of a mild rash, generally not too serious. But like the chickenpox, if adults develop it, more serious complications such as arthritis and encephalitis can occur. One major issue back in the day before people were routinely vaccinated against rubella was the fact that women could be exposed to this during pregnancy, and then the virus, which is capable of crossing the placenta, could infect the newborn baby, resulting in severe birth defects. So in many ways, when the Zika virus reared its ugly head in South America in the last couple of years, there was a lot of parallels people saw with the issues surrounding rubella, German measles, during the 1950s and 60s in the U.S. Specifically, there was a lot of fear of women who were pregnant who just didn't know what the effect of their babies would be if they were exposed to either of these viruses. And at the time, there was no treatment. Of course, now we have a vaccine for this one, not yet so for the Zika. Rubella virus is an RNA virus, is a causative agent of German measles, and the vigorous immune response of adults, in the case if that's the first time that they're infected, can contribute to the disease being more severe. Excuse me. Okay, so how was rubella spread? Primarily by respiratory secretion. So in this way, it was unlike Zika, which you'll recall was spread by mosquitoes. Here again is a chart showing the number of cases of rubella or German measles as they occur, and the first vaccines back in the 1960s then were responsible for just an enormous decline. It's really almost non-existent now. So that rubella, that's part of the MMRV. I didn't mention it, but the varicella, that's the chickenpox, is the V in MMRV. Measles, of course, is also part of that MMRV, so measles, mumps, rubella, and varicella. But unlike rubella or German measles, we are still faced with the continuing reemergence of measles, primarily as a result of low vaccination rates. But this is more serious than German measles. The rash itself can be more extensive. It's diagnosed, or one way it's differentiated from German measles, though, are these things called Koplik spots or white spots in the mouth. But serious complications can result, including pneumonia and encephalitis. So fortunately, mortalities aren't rare. In otherwise healthy children, only about 0.3%, but worldwide, it's much more prevalent. The disease itself and the mortality rates are higher, up to 30% in developing countries. So still a significant issue worldwide. Again, as in rubella, the immune response to infected cells seems to cause or be responsible for most of those symptoms. Like rubella or German measles, measles itself is highly contagious and spread by respiratory droplets. Humans are the only host, which in a way is good because that means that this has the potential to one day be eradicated like smallpox, because there's no animal reservoir. That means if we can, again, get increased vaccination compliance, there is the possibility of one day eventually removing this disease from the face of the earth. In fact, since the United States instituted its vaccination program, the number of incidences or new incidences here that arise here have been 0 since the year 2000. But it comes here from other places where vaccination rates are still low, and the recent outbreak at Disneyland is one example of that. So diagnosis is based upon the signs of measles, specifically the Koplik spots, which are diagnostic. Some ways to treated. Of course, not being a bacterial disease, regular antibiotics aren't effective, but some antiviral drugs and antibodies can be used to treat cases of measles. This is just a table comparing German measles with rubeola or red measles. This is kind of neat. The causative agent of the German measles is a member of the toga viruses or togaviridae, and it's so named because it has this kind of loose lipid envelope that surrounds it that kind of looks like a toga. So in appearance very different, totally different appearance and unrelated to the measles virus, which is a member of the paramyxovirus family. So the final question to consider before we leave viral diseases of skin and wounds is, why has the number of cases of measles increased dramatically, especially in Europe? That will do it for this chapter, so we'll pick up, we have a few minutes still left in this lecture period that we'll try to work through just the very first part of chapter 20 on microbial diseases of the nervous system and eyes.